Welcome to Wine and Dine Wednesday, y'all. Welcome to Wine and Dine Wednesday. So, I've been going for a minute, but I'm back now. Today is gonna be the most ratchet Wine and Dine Wednesday you ever seen. My hair look crazy. I got on the ship shirt, entrepreneur shit. I ain't even working there today. But I've been down for a minute. I've been going through something, and it kind of affected my consistency with showing up for me every week. One is on Wednesday. You know, health always comes first, and this health kick kind of took me out of my mental, and it took me some time to get back to it. And it wasn't that I was neglecting y'all. It was, I had business things going on and then personal things going on, and it becomes very overwhelming, especially when you're doing it for yourself by yourself. And I'm here now. So we were supposed to have a topic of loving yourself and bodies last week, and I didn't talk about that. So we will dive into that. Say again. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to dive into that again at a later date, but today is run or stay. I'm gonna eat in the middle of this live. Excuse me if you don't know me. You know I don't have no teeth, and today I am not wearing my teeth because I'm gonna enjoy my food and I'm gonna talk my shit. And it is what it is. I am transparent about everything I got going on. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and this is just what it is. Oh, Cancer Gang. So y'all already know. Yes. Full transparency for YouTube because I didn't say it. I'm gonna say it again. We are live on YouTube, but we are in a private Zoom. So everybody you hear, but you might not see, it's in my Zoom. You can always drop a comment. Make sure you like and subscribe if you would like to be added to the private Zoom so you can join the community. If not, we always accept feedback. But yeah, we cancers all day, every day. So today we talking about run a stay. When it talks about run a stay, I'm referring to relationships, domestic violence, situationship. It doesn't always have to be domestic, but it's a real question in life of do you stay or do you go? Like what in a situation makes you feel like you've reached your breaking point that you cannot stay no more, or what in a situation is like a sacrifice that you're willing to deal with that you accept and you stay longer than expected or longer than might be approved by your friends or family. A lot of the time, go ahead. Kids, that is a good reason to stay. There's a lot of people who stay in marriages because of kids. There's a lot of people who stay in fucked up situations because of their kids. There's a lot of people who stays in certain communities and environments. Abuse and violence doesn't always come from your partner or the person you're sleeping with. It could be your family. It could be a situation where that's their only support with your child, and you stay in a family's household because you need that help and you don't want to leave, or the fear of leaving stops you from actually going out and being on your own. So, um, go ahead. hmm I'm dining today, y'all. It's wine and dine Wednesday for a reason, but yeah, you're right. Go ahead, girl, talk. Let me tell you, love. Look, y'all probably can't see me. I'm sorry. I done put the phone down. Y'all know what I look like. Love made me stay in a lot of bad situations for a lot of reasons that I didn't understand on the bed or on the table. For a lot of reasons I didn't understand, or a lot of reasons I didn't want to accept in the moment. So, okay, y'all gave me examples of reasons why you stay. Now, what is running for you? Is running like literally running away? I'm a runner. I'm not a runner anymore. I learned and I grew and I developed that enough self love for myself and understanding to where I didn't run. But I used to be a runner. So I definitely want to talk about running because it was to the point where I would run. I done been outside naked. I done, did crazy things that I don't even want to say that I did to myself to change the situation. But, I was a runner and I would run, call the cops, do all kinds of things, and still be right back in the same situation. It was to the point where I was disappointed in myself to where I had to ask myself, like, what are you really running from? Like, when I say run, I mean running away from a situation, taking yourself out of a situation. Like I said, I've been outside naked before, running away just to get away from somebody who I loved or a situation that I chose to stay in. It was to the point where I had to really sit back and recognize what I was doing. Like, this is not for me to say is wrong with running. This is not for me to say, you can't run. If you feel like you're in a bad situation and you're being abused, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, whether it's from a partner or a family member, you need to get out of that situation. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, you have to really evaluate, is it worth running? Like, it wasn't worth running for me because I was living in my own crib. I was where me and my son should be comfortable, and I had to take us out of our comfort zone because somebody else was making me uncomfortable, and I would rather run than stay in a situation. Now, I've never been a stay type of person. Well, I'm lying. I have been a stay type of person because there was plenty of times I stayed in a bad situation, knowing the nigga wasn't shit, knowing he didn't help me, he didn't provide, but I still stayed because of love. What is love? Tina Turner said it the best. What love got to do? Hey, it's just a secondhand emotion. It's just I wouldn't say the best song, but it's definitely a real one because it's only an emotion, and you have to realize what is a higher priority, a higher priority for you. Is it your emotions? Is it a feeling? Is it a situation? Like, what is a priority? And my health and my happiness is a priority. We always dive into situations where we think love is where we want to be and how we want it to be, and it never works out. Sometimes it does. There's people who's been married for 45 years. Hmm. Welcome to Wine and Down Wednesday. Thank you for joining us tonight. People still trickling in, but we are just talking about the reality of running and staying in the situations. So, my question, go ahead. Okay. So, wait. I want to cut you off. No, I'm going to debate with you now because love is everything. But it's the self love that's everything. It's the love for God. It's the love for yourself, because you could love somebody else with that same love you should be pouring into yourself, and it'll keep dragging you down into bad situations. But if you don't know what it is to love yourself or what that's like, you would think that bad situation is okay. So I want to say loving is something good because you love people. That's what helps you give back. I'm not going to turn this into a religious situation, but they say the love of Jesus Christ is what saved us because he sacrificed himself for our sins. If you're a believer in Christ, love is everything. Love is how the world really moves because you need love in everything. Like, I'm love, I give love, I am love, but it's who do you love and how do you love and what love is a priority for you, because you don't want to say, oh, well, I love this man and make him a priority and he's stepping on you every chance he get. Do you love you more than you love him? So I don't want to say it's love. It's just a secondhand emotion. Love is not everything, but in contradiction to that, it is, because you have to love yourself. And when you know the love for yourself and your self worth and your boundaries, that's what leads you into that happiness. Like, love is not gonna make you happy loving on other people. You love your kids. Some people, their kids are their everything. So, I wouldn't say love is not everything, but it's about who you loving, how you loving, and what does love mean to you. So, I'm sorry. And that too. Mhm. I want to say, all right, there's always sacrifices in situations. Like any relationship is gonna have a sacrifice. Any relationship is gonna have a situation where you have to decide: is it worth my time? Is it worth me staying, or is it worth it? You can't always think the grass is greener, and that's where people fail. Like and that's what made me want to talk about this topic and say, I was a runner because sometimes, you might run and think, oh, it's greener over here. I met a new nigga. He's nicer. He gonna treat me better. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years later, you see you falling into the same things. Excuse me. So it's about really knowing what love is for you and how to love yourself, because you could you could love yourself and you could get into this phase where I'm wearing what I want, I'm doing what I want, I'm going where I want, and then you get in another situation and then you start falling back into habit. Like, you start caring too much or you start doing too much, and then it's a question of, am I seeing red flags? Am I accepting those red flags? Or am I just staying because I think this love is better than the last one? Or because I think he loves me, or he said he loved me, and now I done convinced myself this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do. But is it really worth the sacrifice? Like, every relationship has sacrifices, and some people fail to realize, like, it's not always greener on the other side. You got to know what you want for you. I can't tell you what it is. I'm not a therapist. I don't have no license to say this. I'm just talking strictly off of experience and what I've been through and what I've learned, because I had my jaw broke before. I had broken ribs before. I had that situation where I thought it was love, and the nigga was spitting on me and doing disrespectful stuff. And this is why I come here and I talk about my stories and I talk about my growth and my healing, because it's a lot of people who still going through that and they think, oh, but he loves me, oh, but I love him. It's a personal decision. You have to decide. When you're tired, you're tired. And once you know you're tired, you're gonna walk away. Once you decide this is something I can't tolerate, it's definitely your mindset. Like, you have to have a good mindset and you have to know your boundaries. A lot of us be in relationships and we don't know our boundaries, or we don't have that mindset to where this is what I'm not going to accept. We don't have that confidence where I know I'm going to be good regardless, with or without him. So, a lot of the times we stay in those bad situations thinking, oh, well, all right, just give an example, like a married couple. A wife would stay with a man because he's being her provider, knowing that she's being mistreated, knowing that, he doesn't care about her emotions, her feelings, her well being. But as long as he's paying the bills, or as long as they got kids together, she's going to stay and make that sacrifice. And some women feel like it's worth that sacrifice. But some women, they really need to pull themselves out of that. They really need to love themselves more and understand that is it doesn't have to be that way. Now, it's not easy. It's hard. You might go broke. You might go homeless. I've been there as well. So, it's not easy. And I cannot tell you what to do or that is right, whether you leave or you stay. But it's not right to be mistreated. It's not right to be disrespected. Now, if you disrespecting the man, of course he's gonna disrespect you. I can't say it's a one-way street, because that's a two-way street. But it's about what you accept, what you feel is okay for somebody to be doing to you, and if you feel like you appreciate that. I don't appreciate people disrespecting me, and I'm not going to stay in no situation with no man. I don't care how much I love you. I don't care how much you paying my bills. You could give me $1 million every day. If you disrespecting me and you not treating me right, I'm leaving you. It's somebody out there who could treat me better, who could do me better, and they might not have everything you have, but I could get that. Change your mindset. You don't need a man to get nothing. You could get it on your own. It might be harder, it might take longer, but there's nothing stopping you. You are stopping you. Like, it's all about you, your mindset, your boundaries, your determination, your why. Like, that make me want to go to my why. So, as you know, I'm live on YouTube, but I am in a private Zoom, and I have a screen that says my why for my kids. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking for it because they are my why. Like, I had one son when I was going through my domestic violence part of my life, and he was my why. Like it took me to say, I don't want my son seeing another man disrespecting me, because then he's just gonna grow up and disrespect women and think it's okay. It was to a point where I had to sit down and really think about what is okay for me. What do I want my son to see? Like I don't want to just say, "Oh, love is enough to make me stay," because it's not. Love is not enough for me. And I ran and ran many a times, because in the moment it's like, oh, I got to get away from this, I can't deal with it. But then I come right back, because they know how to talk to you. They know how to get you on the phone. They know what to say. They know what to do. They know how to touch you. A lot of people live off of pleasure. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be pleased by your man, your partner, the person that you're dealing with relations, but don't let that be more than what you feel like is your worth. Is that good D better than somebody black in your eye, or somebody beating you down? It's like Eve said it good when she was like, love is blind. Love is blind was my song. And as a child I sang it. I knew other people going through shit, and I didn't really realize like she was singing to me. Like, I had to really sit down and think like, what does love is blind mean to me? Because you could love somebody and you don't know where that love might land you. Like sometimes it lands you where you happily married for 45, 55 years, and everybody goes through problems, but it's not that dramatic to where you have to run away. And sometimes every situation takes sacrifices. Sometimes the sacrifice is worth it. Oh, he might call you stupid sometimes, or say, "Oh, you get on my nerves," or something like that. All right, that's borderline acceptable for me, because you know what? Sometimes I might do something stupid. I don't need my nigga calling me stupid or saying that to me or beating me down in that way. But I can accept that versus him calling me a stupid bitch. You ain't worth nothing, you never gonna get nothing, nobody's never gonna love you. That's excessive for me. Once you start going there, I'm going. That's a red flag automatically in the air. See you when I see you. Keep it pushing. I don't want nothing to do with it. So it's about just knowing what's your red flags, what you will accept, and knowing your boundaries. I'm still in transition of healing. I'm still in transition of loving myself, because it's hard. And sometimes we know, and sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we think we know, and we jump into things that is not realistically healthy for us. It's not healthy for our mental, it's not healthy for our life plans, but it's a temporary fix. So it becomes a debate of, is this temporary for me, or is this long term? Can I tolerate this if we good for 6 months, and every seventh month he start the same shit? Is that a process or a routine that I want to deal with for the rest of my life? Is this somebody that I could really deal with for the rest of my life? Like, it's about loving you and knowing you. Like, we grow up looking at our parents, and sometimes there's the misconception of, oh, I'm gonna be like my mother, or you should be like your father, or everybody's different. Some people have two parent homes, some people have one parent homes, and you don't really know your childhood trauma until you're an adult. I'm still learning things that was a childhood trauma for me that I never knew. Say again? Right. Like, we never know our childhood traumas, like, until you're an adult. And I realized that as an adult, because it's like, all right, I grew up in a single parent home. I had a stepfather that I didn't even call my stepfather until I became an adult, because I used to tell that man all the time, like, you're not my father. Like, don't tell me what to do. You're not gonna boss me around. Like, and I stood firm on that, and I still stand firm on that to that. I still stand firm on that till this day. But as an adult, that's my stepfather. I respect him a lot more than I did as a child. And it was just the not understanding of people go through things, what things are accepted and not accepted, or what things my mother chose to accept that I won't accept. It's a thin line between respect and disrespect. And if I'm disrespecting me and you disrespecting me, that's all the way wrong. If I'm respecting me and you disrespecting me, that's even more wrong. But excuse me, y'all. It's up to me to accept that. And if I know I'm not accepting that, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. It's no love in the world. It's no money in the world that can make me stay, that can make me feel like it's worth it. And you need to know that you are not alone in these situations. Like, we go through things a lot by ourselves, and we don't know how to deal, how to react. And I'm not perfect, but I'm still opening and providing that space for anyone who needs it, because sometimes I don't need to get away from my man. Sometimes it's not that bad where he's calling you a bitch and disrespecting you, but it's just the fact that you can't communicate with him. You might need to vent a little bit to somebody who's not going to sit there and judge you, because, you know, that might make you stay in a bad situation as well. Just talking to somebody and then it's like, oh, okay, well, you dumb for staying with him and you still gonna go back, and then it's like, all right, well, I could tell him how I feel and he call me a bitch later. I'd rather him call me a bitch than you beating me down. I might stay in that bad situation. So it's about finding that space where you can heal your mind, you could change your mental, and you start to learn your boundaries, or you start to learn your trauma. Like I was saying, I didn't learn, I was damaged by a lot of my childhood traumas until I was older, and I started thinking like, oh, I used to go through that, or I used to see that when I was younger. Like I didn't even realize that was a trauma for me or a trigger. Like now that I know that, it helps me adjust and evaluate my new situation. Like I am thankfully in a new situation, and I'm not in a domestic violence relationship, but trust me, I still keep my eyes and ears open for red flags. It's never too long before it's too late to leave. I know how to get out if I need to get out without, hiding or running away from my home. I know when to say it's too much. And some of us don't know that. Some of us do know that. And it's a learning process. It's not easy. You're not going to learn tomorrow, but you have to learn to love yourself, because the self love is the biggest thing. Like when you love on yourself and you care about yourself, you care about how it reflects on your kids, you care about the way you live in. Like I used to be chasing love for happiness. And, I say that to say I felt like I was running because it was temporary. I had to get away, but I always came back because I felt like he made me happy. And um I'm gonna just read what was in the comment because she left. It says, I'm so happy you are having this conversation. Love starts with you. Don't be afraid to be without love to the point where you are sacrificing yourself or your love. That is a good point. Says you won't strive for worth if you don't believe you deserve more and you deserve better. You are not alone. Continue your healing journey. Okay, thank you. But that made me get even lost in my thought right there, because it's definitely a journey. It's definitely time to take healing. It's definitely you knowing your self worth, you loving yourself, and knowing what your boundaries are, and standing firm on that. Like I used to run because it was a temporary fix until I realized I'm not running no more. I'm going to stay and love me and be me. And either a man is going to accept you for who you are, or he going to leave you alone. And it's simple as that. Welcome to Wine is on Wednesday. So today we talking about staying or running. And I just said that I'm a runner. Well, I used to be a runner, and I wanted to express that and share that with people, because people hear about, oh, you in a relationship, you good now. I have not always been in a relationship. I was a single mother for 12 years. You know, it was not always easy. I had to learn how to be alone before I learned how to accept somebody loving me the right way. And running was always a temporary fix for me because I always came back. He always knew what to say. It was so bad to the point where I felt like God wanted me to just stay in that bad situation, and I just had to accept all the mistreatment because I didn't think I could be loved by anybody else or loved in the right way. And once I started saying, no, this is not what I want. Either you accept me for who I am or you got to go. And now he's gone because he couldn't accept me for me. And it was no sacrificing me, my feelings, the ways I want to be, the things I want to do to be with a man, because that sacrifice is the biggest sacrifice that leads to failure. I'm not sacrificing myself for nobody, because at the end of the day, who's gonna take care of my kids? Who's gonna support my family the way I'm supporting it? Nobody. A nigga could tell you he love you and be there all day, every day, but they really don't care. They sometimes, and most of the times, put themselves first. They be selfish. Who going? What you mean, who's going, boo? Welcome to Mine is on Wednesday. Tap in with us. But and it just makes me reflect on staying. Like staying is not always bad. You can stay in a situation if you feel like is not breaking you down, it's not leaving you in the mud. Staying is if you feel like it's a sacrifice that you could deal with for the rest of your life. I could deal with him calling me. I could deal with him telling me I need to get up and go to work and do something with myself. Why not? It's the truth. You gotta know. You gotta have value. You can't just the spitting on you. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Okay. Like I said, I'm not a therapist, so nobody don't take my word for nothing that I'm gonna say here. And it's your decision at the end of the day to make that final decision whether to stay or not. So first, I'm gonna say y'all was young love. Y'all got together when you was kind of young, and like she said, trauma bond. Sometimes it might be, oh, I'm here for him and he needs that support. That could be a reason to stay. I was staying in a situation because, all right, the guy had a nephew. His nephew was special, and his nephew passed away on New Year's. And so, that shit hurt him so much that instead of leaving him and hurting him more, I decided to stay with him because, I felt like he needed that comfort. I couldn't see myself walking away from somebody when I felt like they needed me. But for that, I'm going to say as well, I had a 7-year relationship with that guy. After 7 years, I still needed to go. It wasn't for me. And then on top of that, I'm going to say, it takes 1 to 5 years to really get to know a man. And even after 1 year, I say after 5 years, excuse me, y'all. After 5 years is really when you know somebody because you cannot pretend for more than 5 years. Some people probably could, but people know how to put on an act for a long time. And it used to be 1 year for me. If you was good after 1 year, we was good. But then 2, 3 years later, you start switching up, you start doing shit different, you start acting different. So now it's 5 years for me. Now I really had to question when I started dating again. I had to think like, do I want to waste 5 years of my time getting to know somebody before I feel like it's enough, or I could stay in the situation? Now it's just about you knowing your boundaries. Now I'm sorry to hear about his father, his mother, whatever, and that grievance. So my man just lost his father to cancer. That is hard, and you cannot tell somebody how to grieve. And while people grieve, they might change their feelings or act a little bit different, or they might go through a little bit more. And one stereotype I want to talk about with that is a lot of a lot of people say men don't change. Men do change, and I've seen a man change from an abuser to becoming a non-abuser. But he still may have a little bit of disrespect, but he definitely treats the woman way different than when he did 10, 15 years ago. So the fact that he's willing to go to therapy for himself and with you, just he's willing to make a change or an effort to do something different, I would acknowledge that. But at the end of the day, the end question is, is it worth it for you? Do you feel like that would be enough for y'all to be good? Or do you see the changes? Because I ain't gonna lie, I saw changes in the other situation. I was like, all right, maybe he changing, maybe he getting it right, but it was just still the disrespecting me outside in public in front of people, want to fight in public, shit like that. I can't. It's not me. It's not what I want for myself. And you still have to make that final decision. Is it worth it? You could not be with somebody and still be there for them, still be cool, still try to be in their life. It's all about, can they accept that? So you have to really make that decision. Like, is it worth it? Is it that bad that, you want to go outside and just do you FREE? Nah. you know, some people they just want that back, but it's like, after you get that back, is that gonna be what you wanted, or is it gonna be, what is it gonna be like for you dating? Like, you have to think about everything when you really thinking about what you want to do. Like, do y'all have kids? How does this affect y'all kids? Like, will y'all be able to co-parent? Will y'all be able to communicate on a different type of level to where it's not affecting your kids? Like, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And especially because somebody is grieving, like, everybody grieves differently. So I cannot tell you how to react to that man's grief. Like, was these problems before the grief, or was it after the grief? Like, is it trauma that you're going through or that he's going through? Like, for me, I want to say, like, I can't tell you how to feel or how to react to that situation, because that is a hard decision, and that is a hard situation. But it's about me knowing what I want and what I would accept. Like, certain things I'm just still not gonna accept. Like, I'll try if you want me to try. I just, love is not enough for me. Love is not enough for me. It's not enough for me. And I would hate to say that I'm the type of person that will walk away from a good situation and might be alone for the rest of my life, or might be back in a bad situation, because I wish I would have never walked away. But it's not enough for me. I need more than love. I need the understanding. I need the communication. I need the respect. I need the comfort. Like, I need my man to be a man. You can tell me you love me all day, every day. Niggas tell you they love you and they black your eye. Niggas tell you they love you and leave you hungry and go split $5 with their mans. Like, so it's just you knowing your self worth, you knowing what you will accept, and you knowing your boundaries. If he could come to term with your boundaries, then y'all could work it out. If y'all go to counseling and the counseling helps y'all, like, a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm not going to counseling, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, it was to the point where I had an ACS case because a nigga was beating on me, and the ACS worker told me, it's either you leave this nigga or he go to anger management. If he don't go to anger management, you could lose your kid. He did not even want to fucking go to anger management. Like, he put my kid at risk because he rather walk around with an attitude. I was out of there. You fucking crazy nigga. You fucking trying to fucking tell me my kid is not even worth you trying to make a change. So, sometimes even them trying is a step forward in the right direction if you're willing to accept that. Some people's like, I don't give a fuck how much you try, how much therapy you go through, bye nigga. Deuces, like, so, like I said, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I want to say that very loud and clear. I'm just talking through experience and my own healing process, because I had to learn my boundaries. And when it came to my kid, like I said, my kids is my why. That was crossing my boundary. Like, it's no way. Hold on, let me see. She said, you just went through a breakup, or you talking about the past. It sounds like she's talking about a current situation. And you could come off the mic if you want to. I know you probably got the kids or whatever. Oh no, I'm talking about the past with this, because happily I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and it's not perfect. We go through our shit, but I definitely don't deal with the disrespect. He's never put his hands on me. I can't even say we ever really had a fight or argument where it's that bad that niggas want to get that disrespectful with each other. He didn't ever call me out my name, so I thank God for that. But when I tell you, when I met this man, I was like, I don't want to be with him. Like, he would never get a chance. Like, You know, it was about me changing my mindset, changing my perception of life and what I wanted. Like, what I knew was what I wanted, what I won't accept. And I feel like I prayed for him because I pray every day, every night, crying and tears and good situations, bad situations to get out of that past situation. I prayed so much that I felt like the nigga kept coming back. I thought I needed to stay with that nigga because it's like I'm praying, God, you answering my prayers, and he's still here. Like, is this what I'm supposed to deal with? But then I realized like I had to love me more. And once he was out of my life, you know, he still would call. He still could call me to this day. Like, you know, it is what it is, but it's not enough for me to go backwards. I just knew what I wouldn't accept, and he was something that I couldn't accept. And you know, some people they get lost in the word, and it's like, oh, I'm praying every day, and I'm still here, or I'm still going through the trials. Like you have to learn from each situation, and that's what made me want to talk about the run or stay, because you know if you run and you don't actually stay and learn from the situation, you can run and get a new nigga every time you feel like you see a red flag, every time you don't want to accept something, but you're still gonna run into the same shit. You're still gonna attract the same things because you didn't learn. If you don't learn nothing from the situation, then you could be in that same situation over and over again until you learn. Like, that was not my first domestic violence situation. My first domestic violence situation was with my baby father, and I was with him for 5 years. And he broke my jaw. It was for him to break my jaw before I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. Because if you could break my jaw, you could kill me, and then you wouldn't even give a fuck. The nigga couldn't even show up to the hospital just to make sure I was alright. And some strange nigga came and met me in the hospital, didn't even tell him where I was, and I woke up with him at my bedside. Like, are you kidding me? That was the first eye opener. But I feel like I still didn't learn because then I still went to another bad situation, another abusive situation. It wasn't until I got in that last situation that I had to really sit back and realize, like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? Like, I feel like what I was doing wrong, I wasn't loving me. I wasn't being myself. You know, we bend and we twist when we get in situations. Oh, let me cook for him. Let me cater to him. I'm gonna put my feelings to the side. But how much are you gonna put your feelings to the side before it becomes too much? Now you're overwhelmed with how you feel and what you want, and he don't care because he happy. He living his best life. He got everything he want from the girl he want. But is he making you happy that same way? Is he making them same sacrifices? Like, you have to learn from your situation. I feel like learning what I wanted to accept and learning to be comfortable with being me and learning that you cannot change for a man. You have to be you. And if that man loves you, he's going to accept you for who you are. Every relationship comes with sacrifices. And if they feel like they can't deal with the sacrifice, they're not going to be with you. They're not going to be loyal. They're going to cheat. Sometimes it's not always physical. Sometimes it's just niggas cheating. If you doing shit they don't like or you doing shit they don't want, they're going to leave. They're going to go cheat. They're going to find a bitch that's going to satisfy them in a moment. They might come back, but that's not gonna be the last time. They could tell you, "Oh, I love you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. That bitch was nothing." But if he can't accept some shit, he gonna do what he wanna do. So I had to learn, like, I had to love me. If the nigga don't like it, then leave me alone. Simple as that. And I'm not perfect. You know, I had to grow and learn that I couldn't be certain ways or do certain things, or, you know, what's accepted and what's not accepted in a relationship. You know, it definitely takes two. But at the same time, who's a priority for you? You or the person you love? I had to put me first. I was the priority. And once I learned that I'm a priority and I have to love myself and be true with myself, I've been more happier than I ever been in my life. Like, and I'm still going up. Like, it's a healing process. Like, you have to go through to understand and learn the process. And that's why, you know, I had to stop running. I was a runner. So, you know, if you are a runner or you plan on running and you don't know whether it's going to be right or wrong, you got to take the chance. And, you know, I definitely advise you to not run and just evaluate more so of, are you leaving or are you staying? I'm not running because I don't want to run into this shit again. I want to know what I'm not accepting. And if you're not willing to change and compromise with me and we can't work through it, then you just not the one for me. It's a million fish in the sea. A million and many more millions and millions. It's way more than a million, but you know, it's plenty of fish in the sea, and you don't have to settle. Like, never settle. Once you feel like you're settling, that's when it's like Is it worth settling? You have to just know your worth, know yourself, and you know you should not be the only one making compromises. Like y'all both have to compromise. So a divorce after 13 years, and we just getting back cool, and they got 5 kids. So maybe after 13 years, she realized I didn't want to accept this shit no more. And he realized, well, it's worth me accepting her how she is and dealing with it because I still want her in my life. And so now they cool. That's tell me right, speak for yourself. Mhm. Do you feel like that helped you, baby? No, not you. Go ahead. Finish telling us your story. Mhm. 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 Bedside pussy. Oh my god, we gonna have a class about that. Mhm. Mhm. And you see, it's knowing your self worth. You know what you wasn't willing to accept, and you evaluated your situation to do that. Hold on. Baby, I want to know, did that help you at all? Are you still here with us? Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure because I know I kind of went on a rant after you asked your question, and I just wanted to know, like, hmm. I'm sorry to cut you off, and excuse my baby in the background. He is living his best life with that balloon, y'all. But that is gonna be another topic we're gonna cover in a whole nother day, another conversation. Being emotionally available, because sometimes they might be there, they might love, they might cook, or a lot of times they don't even cook. They just there, but it's about being emotionally available for me, where I could come to you and tell you when I'm going through something. I could sit down and have a conversation with you without you judging me, or without you saying like, "Oh, my feelings don't matter," or "what I'm going through doesn't matter." Like that plays a big part in if you can stay or if you need to go. Because if I can't communicate with you, that's a problem for me. Because then now, if I'm communicating with the next man, or if I'm communicating with my friends, and you mad, oh, y'all bitches always talking about me, that could just escalate a bad situation into a worse situation. So yeah, that's just something definitely big. But go ahead, finish. Hey, you about to get evicted. How old is your baby? Oh, no. Mm. For one, don't let Don't let somebody else's family tell you how to deal with your person, because what his family feels, that's something, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Because is family could make or break your relationship, and a lot of times they break your relationship because at the end of the day, a family could welcome you in, they could accept you, they could love you, but they're gonna have that person who is their actual family member's best interest at heart always. So, sometimes your family might feel like, oh, you don't need to deal with that, it's not worth it, but that person might provide you more, do more for you than what was actually your family's opinion. Like, they might show up for you more than your family is showing up for you. So, don't even let that shit even bother you or get to you. Now, the fact that he got another person around, get out, get out. We in Wanda Wednesday and you talking louder than me. I'm sorry, y'all, but you know, don't let that don't let that bother you. Don't let that judgment, or, oh, that's what I was saying. The fact that he got another person around now, that's different. He knows how to get to you. So, just you acknowledging that you're gonna figure out what it is that he's doing to get to you, so that you learn how to not let him get to you when you're vulnerable. Like, being vulnerable is something that's hard for everybody. Everybody is vulnerable to some extent. Like, I don't care, it could be the strongest person in the world. It's something or some type of trigger that can make you be like, oh, all right, you know what? Let me just listen to what they gotta say, or, you know what? All right, come on, let's just have dinner. It's always, especially when they know you. Once you around somebody 5 years, 2 years, they know how to approach you. They know how to get to you. So, you just have to be real careful with being vulnerable. And then that's the thing with dating. Like, when I first started dating, I was like, I don't even know how to date. Like, I usually go from one situation to the next situation, and I'm loyal in that situation until it don't work. And that was a problem for me, because it's like I had to realize, like, I don't want to do another 5 years before I realize this nigga ain't shit. Like, so I had to put myself out there dating, and it's like, even dating, that's a whole nother conversation again. But that comes with boundaries, because some people might feel like, oh, if you're dating, you're a hoe. I don't want somebody out here being a whole fucking mad niggas. But then in that same breath, you can't just fuck with one person and think, oh yeah, this is the person for me for the rest of my life. You have to have options, because if you don't allow yourself to have options, then you will never know what you really want, what you really like, or what is really for you. Like, you have to think about, like, what is dating for me? Is it just dating one person for a term until I feel like it's not what I want, or is it dating multiple people at a time? You don't have to sleep with multiple people at a time, and if you do, that's your fucking business. But you deal with more than one person, just because you have to leave your options open. You don't want to settle for something like, oh yeah, I'm dating this person, then 2 years later it's like, well, I wasted 2 years of my life. Like, don't let it be a waste. You can do that if that's what you want to do, but all of that comes into play. Like, what's dating for you? You have to learn how to date people. And because, all right, so let me just get into a little story about that. First, I'm going to say, welcome to Wine and Dine Wednesday, E. We talking about running or staying in this conversation. But, so for me, it was like, all right, I was in a situation, and that shit even made me lose my whole train of thought just now, because it took me away, but it took me away. I lost it, y'all. I'm gonna definitely have to come back to it. What I was talking about. Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely hard. Cancer gang, 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 gang. No. Ooh, look at that naked booty. There's nothing wrong with being in your 30s. 30 is the good years. The 30s is the good years. Mhm. Brave enough, strong enough. You make a bigger mess before you clean it up. I, w- Mhm. I want to say, thank you for sharing. Thank everybody for sharing. Thank you for being transparent about your situations. This is what this space is for, to be comfortable. But sometimes it is just that you're growing, and it's the growth process. Sometimes when you with somebody, especially for a long time, they not willing to see you grow, or they not used to your change. And so instead of being positive about it and supporting it, it makes them turn into a negative person, or they react negatively, and then that's what leads you into that space where, is this really worth it, or should I stay with this situation? Or some people don't like to see change, because once you start changing, they feel like you're switching up on them, or they feel like you're doing too much, because you have to grow. You're not going to stay the same forever. And especially in that age that you're in, like, that's what made me make the 30 comment, because getting into your 30s, like I said, I started realizing a lot of things about trauma. I just started setting boundaries like 3 years ago. So, as you grow, you develop different ways and different things with yourself, that is like, is this person going to accept it? And if they don't accept it, are you willing to tolerate how they don't accept your change? Like, you just have to be strong in what you are and what you're doing. What you afraid of? So You deserve better, so don't accept it. I don't even want to hear no excuses. Don't accept it. If you feel like you don't want to accept it, and I'm sorry if you feel like this is beating you down, or I don't want you to feel like I'm beating you down because that's not what I want at all. But you know, I know if somebody would have told me that shit, I would have been like, oh, I ain't going back to her class, or I ain't talking to that girl again. So you know, I don't want you to feel like I'm coming at you. But if you feel like in your heart, in your mind, because you could accept it today, you could accept it till next year, you could accept it for 3 more years, it's gonna be to the point where you feel like you can't accept it no more. That you're like, all right, you know what, I'm done. I'm not accepting this no more. This is what it is for me. And sometimes, like I said, I thought I had to stay in that bad situation. Like I accepted it. I accepted him spitting on me and calling me all types of bitches and telling me nobody would never love me. I will only be a baby mother. Like I thought that was it for me. I thought that was the man I was supposed to love for the rest of my life. But God opened my eyes at some point. So you know, you just have to accept what you're willing to accept. If you're not willing to accept it, you make the changes and adjustments that you need for you, and he have to accept it. You know what I feel like for you, I would say like don't be too vulnerable for him because it gets lonely and it gets hard. And in that, you know, sometimes we might go back or we might accept things that we don't want to accept because we feel like there's nobody else going to be there, nobody else going to love us. But it is. You just got to be willing to find it and open to it. Like, you can't stay in a bad situation, think it's going to come to you. Everything comes with work. Sometimes it is working on you that you have to do before you get really what you deserve and what you need. And that's just something that I learned. Like I had to work on me, and I'm not perfect. There's some people out here who don't like me, and some niggas that would call me a bitch, disrespect me. Well, I ain't gonna say that because you know everybody loves me. They always come back. Nah. But you know, it's just some people who wouldn't accept my change or who I am today or the fact that I'm doing this. Like, you know, like I said, I'm not single. I do have a man. And I know it might be hard for him to hear me sharing my story and ranting and raving about some of the things that I go through, but I'm thankful that he's accepting that this is me. This is me standing in my purpose. This is something that I have to do for me so that I can heal and I can overcome what I've been through. Because if not, then I'm going to live with it forever and nobody will never know. Nobody will know. This could be helping somebody. This is helping you a little bit. So, you know, it just have to come out. So I appreciate that he's a man enough to say, all right, go ahead, do you. Every nigga don't do that. Go ahead. Tanea. Mm-hmm. Mm. Abuse goes both ways, so I'm glad you said that because women beat niggas up every day. I need niggas to know that. But what I want to say is not to cut you off. You gotta break your. You gotta break the chains. Be different. Mhm. What K Michelle said? No, go ahead, Erica. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Mm-hmm. Hype like what K Michelle said. You can't raise a man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Talk about it. I be like, okay, look, I'm loving this class, y'all. Look, this class went past 8 o'clock, and I'm not even gonna cut it off because you know if you need the vent or you need the support, you know this is what Wine and Down Wednesday is about. It's Wine and Down Wednesday, y'all. I'm on episode like I don't even know 15. I gotta go back and recollect. You know, I'm gonna collect this and get it together and do what I gotta do. We'll talk about that on Entrepreneurs Week, but I want to say I think you should go back and watch a few of the other episodes we talked about because this is just this week's topic. Every week I do a different topic, but we definitely talked about depression. We definitely talked about family, and I feel like some of the things mentioned in those videos might help you to just to evaluate your own mental space of how you should feel and how you should react to certain things. And then I also wanted to say, when it comes to your family, you know, like I said, you still learn your traumas. The more older you get, the more you learn what was a trigger or what is a childhood trauma because you don't really know that. Going through school, going through life, entering into adulthood, they don't tell you what trauma is and how you could be affected by what you've seen in your household growing up as a child. So, the fact that you even said that, like, it might be what you went through or what you seen as a child, that you acknowledging the trauma. Now, you could be a part of it and just adapt to it and do the same things and live the same way and follow in those footsteps, or you could be the person breaking the generational curse and changing your ways or not dealing with a situation in that way. If you feel like it's something, even if you are the abuser and it's taking you to that point where you want to put your hands on him, you know what? I'm not even going to hit you this time. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to be the bigger person, but you better get out of my face. And it was to the point where I'll share a story that I might have shared before. So my son, he's about to be 13 this year. The ex situation that I talk about, he was like 3 when I met the nigga, and I didn't leave the nigga until he was like 10, 9, 10 years old. And so that was a problem for me because it was at one point me and the nigga broke up. We were separated for like a year. And my son walked up to me, random ass day. I'm feeling good, nice outside. He like, Ma, remember that day you stabbed him and he was bleeding? And I was like, oh shit. I stabbed the nigga with a pen and he dropped to the floor. He was so dramatic and started bleeding. And I was like, yo, that shit hurt me more that my child remember that shit. And those is the thoughts that's going through his head on a regular ass day. I'm not with the nigga. He's not around us. He not talking to us. But my child remember that, and that shit hurt me. That I had to get out of character enough to where it affected my kid, and that's what something that it helped me grow a little bit because now I know, like, all right, we doing too much in front of the kids. It could be just a conversation. Like these kids is smart. They hear and they know and they remember. So you have to really think about, even if it is you. Do I want my daughter to see this? Do I want her to start acting like this when she get older? Like, some things is not for the kids, and sometimes you can't control what's done in front of your kids. So it's no right or wrong way to do it or to deal with it. But that shit was too much for me. It was overwhelming, and it was just like something that was a big red flag for me. Like, I cannot do that. I cannot be that person, or I cannot let nobody bring me to that point where I feel like I have to defend myself in such a way or react in such a way to where it's traumatizing my kids now. Now I feel like he's going through the same trauma, but all that to say, the environment is what matters. Like, it's about the environment. You might have grew up in an environment that you didn't understand, and the more you get older, you see some things was right, some things was wrong, and nobody ever talks about it because if you was born in 84 or before, they grew up where things happen, stuff happens in the house. Don't tell nobody, keep it a secret. Or if you tell somebody, it don't matter. They brush it off. This is why we're here, because you can't just brush it off. These are things that triggered us. These are things that we live with that affects how we love, how we deal with situations. This is things that affects whether we stay in bad situations or if we run. So you just have to evaluate that trauma for you and really acknowledge if it's something you want to bring with you or you have to heal from. And apologizing is not just, oh, I'm sorry, to get over it. Sometimes you have to apologize for yourself. They might not accept your apology. It's not for nobody. You apologize to you. It's you accepting it was something wrong. It was something that couldn't be accepted, and you grow from it. If you don't, some people like they keep that burden on themselves, like, oh, I did this and it hurt, and they never let it go. You have to apologize to yourself so you can grow. If you don't apologize to yourself, you're always going to bring yourself back to that same feeling of discomfort or discouragement because you still holding on to something that you didn't approve of. So yeah, I wanted to say that. No problem. Thank you for coming. You definitely got to come back again. I love when people come and bring the conversation because I could talk for an hour. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes we got a crew. As you see, people been dropping in and out the whole time. But this is Wine is on Wednesday. This is what Wine is on Wednesday is for. It's a support group. It's women empowerment. We are here to empower each other, to be strong. Like, you are not alone. You are not going through this alone. And everybody's not comfortable with talking about it and telling their story. So, like I said, I'm transparent. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I talk about it. Like I said, I don't got no teeth today, so it's real. It is what it is. I was eating. It's Wine Down Wednesday. Sometimes you can have a drink. I don't ever really drink. I haven't been drinking. I might need to evaluate my name, y'all, but you don't have to. Some people need a drink to have these type of conversations because this shit gets real deep. Some people need to talk about it when they drunk. They can't talk about it in the sober mind because it's too much judgment. It's too many people saying, "Oh, you're right," or "Oh, you're wrong," and everybody can't deal with it. So, I'm definitely glad. Hmm. I'd be like, I sell them too. I'd be like, I said, I sell them too. So, They just want to check. Hmm. Hold on, ladies. Let me end this. So, thank y'all for coming to Wine is on Wednesday. It's been live. Like, subscribe. Make sure you comment, give some feedback. Tell us what topics you would like to hear next week. We're going to turn this into a little private conversation. But thank y'all for coming. It's Wine is on Wednesday, y'all. Wine is on Wednesday.